Rama asked, "Holy One, the body seems to be so large and heavy. How does it enter through a minute hole?" We've just been hearing how Lila and the goddess Sarasvati travelled to the bedroom of King Vidurata, who is the incarnation of Lila's husband. He's the third incarnation, and he's fast asleep. So we must assume that Rama's question is referring to how they managed to enter his bedroom through a minute hole, probably the keyhole. So Rama doesn't seem to have grasped that they were in their ethereal bodies and doing an astral projection. As I said before, we're hearing stories within a particular cultural and belief framework, and one of these beliefs is in the power of the mind. The yogi, the advanced yogi, is supposed to be able to perform all sorts of supernormal abilities. And from the evidence of the Yoga Vasistha, I think it's safe to say that these abilities are rooted in the what we might call the subtle plane. The yogi more than likely has a talent for astral projection, for the experience of taking the attention into the far reaches of the imagination. And the imagination is as real, if not more real, than what we normally call the ordinary waking state, or what we normally call reality. Let's see what Vasistha's got to say. Vasistha replied, "O Ram, indeed it is impossible for one who's rooted in the idea that he is a physical body to pass through a subtle hole or tube. It is the innermost conviction that I am the body which is obstructed thus in its movement, that in fact manifests as such obstruction. When the former is absent, the latter is absent too." So is Vasistha actually suggesting that if you totally give up the idea that you've got a physical body, that it's then possible to enter through small holes? I don't think he's saying that at all. When you've given up the conviction that you've got a physical body, then you take on the conviction that you've got a subtle body. And that subtle body is able to manifest anything, and it's able to pass through small holes, it's able to fly. Perhaps this is what happens to people who've taken LSD and think they can fly. They're in touch with what might be called the subtle body, and the subtle body can fly, but only within the subtle realm. So yes, if you've got no notion of a physical body, and let's face it, the physical body is only a notion, you might then take on the notion of having a subtle body, and that seems to be what we're being told here. Just as water ever remains water and flows down, and fire does not abandon its nature of rising up, consciousness remains forever consciousness. So there's no physicality as such, there's only consciousness. But he who has not understood this does not experience its subtlety or true nature. As is his understanding, so is his mind. For it is the understanding that is the mind. Yet its direction can be changed by great effort, Normally one's actions are in accordance with one's mind, i.e. one's understanding. So this is interesting. Its direction can be changed by great effort. I suspect here it's talking about changing the direction from having a physical body to having a subtle or ethereal body. I would suggest the change in direction is from identifying with notions, identifying with concepts, and changing the direction to pure awareness, bringing your attention back to itself, back to the sense of pure being. But he who knows that his body is ethereal, how can his movement be obstructed? So this is taking your attention to the notion of having a subtle body. In truth, everyone's body everywhere is pure consciousness. Everyone's body everywhere is pure consciousness. This is presupposing the existence of a body. But on account of an idea that arises in someone's heart, there seems to be all this coming and going. Yeah. There seems to be all this coming and going. In other words, there seems to be all these bodies coming and going, either through, I think it probably means this body dying and being reborn as another body, dying, being reborn as another body. That's the coming and going. For the same infinite consciousness is also the individual consciousness, mind, and the cosmic space, material. Therefore, the ethereal body can enter anything, anywhere, and it goes where the wish of its heart leads. So I think we just have to assume here that the yogi, the traditional yogi, has this facility for what we would call astral projection, and what I would describe is immersion in the imagination. O Ram, everyone's consciousness is of this nature and power. In everyone's consciousness there's a different idea of the world. Death and other such experiences are like cosmic dissolution, the night of cosmic consciousness. When that comes to an end, everyone wakes up to one's own mental creation, which is a materialization of one's ideas, notions and delusions. Even as the cosmic being creates the universe after the cosmic dissolution, the individual creates his own world after his death. So now we move to the more general picture. If you believe you're living in a physical world, then that's what you experience. If you're identifying with what's called the ethereal body, then you're living in the world of the imagination. It says here, death and such other experiences are like cosmic dissolution. Well, what experiences might these be? Death and other such experiences. They're experiences when the so-called waking consciousness comes to an end, and then something else takes over, something which we might also at the time call reality. And then there's another attempt to fit it into Hindu cosmology. However, divinities like Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, as also holy sages, attain final liberation during cosmic dissolution, and the creation of the next cycle is not from memory. So each time you withdraw from the so-called waking state, there's an opportunity for liberation, for realization. In the case of other beings, the new creation after the death in the previous one is conditioned by the impressions left in the mind by the various experiences during that lifespan. And if you don't take that opportunity to awaken, then the cycle just carries on like you're an automatic.